In this edition of the Red and Blue Political Roundup, former Trump campaign deputy chairman Rick Gates says he committed crimes with his boss, Paul Manafort. In court Monday, Gates testified that he conspired with Manafort from 2008 to 2015. Gates said he underreported Manafort's income and admitted to making false statements to the FBI. Manafort is currently facing a federal trial in Virginia on bank and tax fraud charges. For more on this, I want to bring in Julia Manchester. She's a reporter for The Hill, and she joins me now from Washington. All right, so Julia, how surprising are these revelations, and what effect will they have on Manafort's trial moving forward?
Yeah, it's absolutely surprising, these revelations from Gates, and they'll have probably a negative effect on Paul Manafort as his trial moves forward, just because Rick Gates was very close to Paul Manafort throughout the years. And I think this shows that Rick Gates was someone who was loyal to Paul Manafort but has flipped, and this could set a precedent for future cases involving Mueller's probe and what this means for people who were close to Trump's closest deputies.
Well, speaking of revelations, President Trump tweeted about a 2016 meeting between his son, Donald Trump Jr., and a Russian lawyer. He's now saying it was to get information on an opponent. What are the political and legal impacts of this acknowledgement by the president?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to look at here. First of all, this obviously is a big deal, this tweet, but it's not the first time President Trump has made this suggestion before. Last year, he kind of suggested that, well, anyone would take this meeting because, everyone does opposition research. It's fine. It's normal. It's part of the political process and it's legal. However, we have to look at the timing of when all of this is taking place. We're seeing that it's amid all of the questions surrounding his former fixer, Michael Cohen's investigation. And there have been suggestions and reports that Cohen will flip and say that the president did know about the meeting. It also comes as the president has been very much increasingly more critical of the Mueller probe. We've seen in the last couple of months he's been using Robert Mueller's name in his tweets, really going after the Russia probe. So it all is very interesting timing and definitely raises some eyebrows.
Well, has the president or have the president's attorneys provided any reason for deciding to release this information?
Well, I think the president's attorneys, have basically argued what the president has said. This isn't necessarily illegal. This is normal. But we saw that last Sunday that Jay Sekulow kind of appeared to be a bit out of the loop on the issue. I think he said, there seems to be a bit of a miscommunication within Trump's team on this issue. So, I think the president is kind of going in his own direction on this, but we'll really have to see where it leads.
Let's switch gears. The White House announced Monday that it was reinstating trade sanctions on Iran. How is Congress reacting to the news?
Yeah, I think a lot of Republicans in Congress are very happy about the news. There was lots of Republican criticism of the Iran deal and a need to be more tough on Iran. But I think Democrats are very much skeptical about this news. I think they view this Iran deal as more of a step towards diplomacy, towards bridging that gap. However, they're afraid that tensions will start to ramp up again and possibly lead to more, struggles with preventing Iran from developing more of a nuclear program.
Let me ask a question about domestic politics here. President Trump visited Ohio Saturday to campaign for congressional candidate Troy Balderson. A day later, Ohio Governor John Kasich said Balderson told him he did not invite the president. What does the president's strategy appear to be when he goes to campaign events for Republican candidates?
I think President Trump at this point is really trying to rile up the base. He views this, and rightfully so, as a referendum on his first 2 years as president. And I think he's trying to get as much support in swing states such as Ohio that he won as possible ahead of the midterm. This district is very interesting because Republicans really should be quite frankly, beating out Democrats in it. However, we're seeing that Balderson's opponent, Danny O'Connor, is actually very close. The polls are very close ahead of this election tomorrow. So I think Republicans are rightfully nervous about this. But I think no matter if Democrats win or lose, Democrats could view this as a victory, because if turnout is very high, they could view this as a sign of high turnout and a very big blue wave ahead of November's midterm elections.
Finally, election analyst Henry Olsen of the conservative Conservative Ethics and Public Policy Center told your colleagues at The Hill that President Trump will lose GOP votes in the midterms despite economic growth. What was his reasoning for that?
Yeah, so Henry Olsen was essentially saying that a lot of Republicans will admit that, the economy is doing well under Trump. We appreciate that, but he says they constantly view a lot of his behavior, the constant tweeting, the rambunctious rallies, the constant attacks on his critics, whether they're celebrities or other politicians, as distractions. He views this as he says that Republicans are essentially tired of this, and it's going to depress the vote.
Something they used to call stepping on one's own message. All right. Remember that? Julia Manchester, thanks very much, Julia.
Thank you.